The inside story on the issues that affect you and your community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
In national rankings of science and math scores students on international tests, we fall behind 26 other countries on our math and science readiness of our high school seniors. 84% of our middle school students say they would rather clean their room, eat their vegetables, go to the dentist, or take out the garbage than learn math or science.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. I'm Dan Hurley. Boy, my kids never want to clean their room. Anyway, American rhetoric always held up the critical role of education in shaping our collective future. The dismal record of American students in what has been dubbed the STEM fields, science, technology, engineering, and math, that define the cutting edge of innovation, undermines the confidence in the American future. One of the project teams of this year's Leadership Cincinnati class focused on what's necessary if we're to strengthen STEM education. What they found was that teachers cannot do this alone. Here's another clip from their video report that they prepared.
All of the careers that are coming up in the next 10 to 15 to 20 years have either specifically STEM jobs or they have STEM skills that are necessary for students to be successful in the future.
In the classroom with STEM teaching, we try and really encourage the teachers to do authentic experiences where students are allowed to think critically and problem solve and work with the 21st century skills.
In order to get students more engaged in STEM education, I think that we need to really look at how we're teaching our students. PowerPoints and worksheets are not going to get students excited about doing science or doing math or doing engineering.
Students today need to have this high-tech experience because our country depends on it. We need to make sure that the connection between the skills that students are learning in high school connects to what we need to be economically competitive in the global marketplace.
Business and industry play a critical role in STEM education. In fact, we can't do the right things for kids without business and industry at the table.
The industry can help students get engaged by providing the opportunities for students. We're really trying to make the connection between industry and students in formal education.
What we have to do in order for kids and students to gain authentic business experiences is we first have to make the connection between business and industry and K-12 formal and informal education.
That video was produced by Rachel Lyon, an accomplished documentary film producer, a frequent guest on this show, and a member of the STEM Leadership Cincinnati project team. If you'd like to view the entire video, it is posted on YouTube under STEM, Make the Connection. The team's written report is available on the Leadership Cincinnati website. I am joined this morning by Janice Urbanik, the Director of Industry Partners for the Partners for a Competitive Workforce, which helps employers locate talent and helps individuals develop the skills necessary to get good jobs. And Kathy Maynard, the chair of the STEM Regional Collaborative at the University of Cincinnati. Welcome to Newsmakers. Where am I? Leadership of Cincinnati. Janice, you were a consultant to this project, and thank you for that. And Kathy, of course, you were interviewed for the report, so thank you very much. We've heard a lot about STEM in the past few years, if you pay attention to education at all. Kathy, where would you say the schools are in embracing STEM education and really moving forward and getting serious about this?
It really ranges all over the place. You have schools, we typically teach science and math.
Right.
We don't teach STEM. We don't include engineering or technology. And we're tested on science and math. And so those are most certainly barriers to full implementation of STEM education as an integrated whole with kind of authentic real-world connections. And so you have some of the early adopters. So if you look around the region, there are some people who know that's what we should be doing, that that's the right way to do education. And so those are really our leaders in the region who will actually show that it can be done, show that this is the right way to be doing school, and then serve as models for the rest of the
We'll come back
districts.
to some of the specifics. But it's interesting, about 2 weeks ago, I did a bus tour for a group of students in a summer program at the University of Cincinnati, the Center on Economic Education. And during the lunch conversation, there were about 7 of us at the table. 3 of them or were at schools that had introductory engineering classes. These are high school students. I haven't taught high school since 1979. That was a real surprise to me that engineering is at least offered in some high schools now. So that was good.
That is good.
How about the other side of the equation? How much, sort of the point here is, schools can do it, but they have to do it with businesses. Have businesses gotten that message? Are businesses really already engaging? Are they ready to engage with the schools to do this right?
Yes, businesses are already engaged, and they've clearly gotten the message. And in fact, businesses have given us the message that from a career pathway standpoint, that we need to help them get more involved in the schools, more involved with the teachers and the students, so they can help the teachers and the students understand what the career opportunities are. Right now, there's over 80% of the jobs that are going to be available in our region over the next 10 years require some form of STEM education. And the employers are consistently telling us that we're not doing enough to help the students really understand the skills that they need to develop and get them prepared to get access to those jobs.
Now, the video that we were seeing there, because it focused on Mason High School, because a member of this project team was a superintendent at Mason. But this doesn't just apply to high schools. This is also universities as well. This impacts university curriculum as well. Am I right?
Absolutely, it does. What we consistently hear from employers that is a lot of times the engineers who are coming out of the engineering schools don't have the critical hands-on skills to take a design concept and make it something that can be manufactured. And so helping the universities understand that the engineering programs need to have some hands-on components is very important. The other piece that we're working with the universities is for the schools of education that are preparing the teachers of tomorrow, so that they have additional career awareness, so that they can provide that perspective to their students when they get back into the K-12 classroom.
Kathy, it would seem to me that being at the University of Cincinnati and being in a community with the University of Cincinnati that created the whole concept, I think it was 100 years ago, of co-op education for engineers, starting with engineers, but now spreading to all sorts of fields. We may have an advantage here. I mean, co-op, the whole theory of co-op started at the University of Cincinnati, is now spread around the world. Is UC particularly in the right place to do something about this?
Absolutely, and it's something across every college, across the whole university, that everybody's looking at: co-ops, apprenticeships. How do you get students into those careers so that they're able to gain the right skill set early and solidly?
Can you give me a couple of examples on the high school level now where you think, you were talking about early adopters, where people are doing the right thing and moving forward on the high school level?
Absolutely. So if you look at, for instance, Hughes STEM High School, so
right across from the University
right
of
across the
Cincinnati.
street, exactly. They actually have adopted a STEM focus. They were one of the first STEM high schools in the whole state of Ohio. There's one in each region, and they're looking at making those career connections all the way through the curriculum. They're looking at career pathways. They send students out for intersessions so that they have these real-world experiences.
Intersessions meaning?
They go away for a week and they actually apply the things they're learning in school to a situation. So I'll give you an example. Macy's juniors department. They actually take a group of Hughes kids for a week, and they use math, they use science, and they actually design a new juniors department. And then they present that to the Macy's board.
Okay, so real concrete.
Real concrete.
What are some specific companies that have, you said they're out there, they've been delivering the message. What are some companies that involve directly with Hughes, and Macy's was just mentioned, or other schools that are doing this? So from that side, who's leading the charge
Sure.
here?
In northern Kentucky, there's a couple of very active companies, MAG and Mazak, who have been very closely involved with the schools in northern Kentucky, as well as Gateway Community and Technical College. One of the programs that they have is called a STEM Day, where the students spend the morning at Gateway learning about the community college curriculum, doing some hands-on work on some of the manufacturing equipment that they have there, and then in the afternoon they go to the plant, have lunch, and then tour the plant facility and hear from some of their newer employees, some of their young apprentices, so that they can see someone that they can relate to, someone closer to their age, to understand what a career in manufacturing is all about and how STEM education is required for someone to really succeed in that career. So some of those companies have been heavily involved in developing those kinds of events.
And Mazak, if I'm correct, this is a machine tool company,
yes.
right? Which is sort of in the heart of the history of this region, is machine tools.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of concern coming out of this recession about the recovery of manufacturing. Mm-hmm. And one of the points that keeps coming up is manufacturing is recovering, but not because it's hiring huge numbers of new jobs. It's hiring people who have the right skills. Mm-hmm. And so in a machine tool environment like that, when you talk about STEM skills, what are you talking about? How does that practically relate to a person who's looking for that entry-level job?
When you think about STEM skills, you have to integrate in the math, and math is also the ability to think in 3D. So thinking about X, Y, and Z axes, and when you're thinking about
three-dimensional geography?
Three-dimensional geography and all of the geometry.
I'm sorry, yes.
When you think about machining a piece of metal, you have to be able to think in all three axes. Being able to translate those math skills and taking it from a drawing to a machine setting is very critical. From a science standpoint, understanding the metallurgical properties of the materials that you're working with and just how quickly you can machine off the metal to get to the shape that you want. Engineering from the design of the equipment that you're working on and how to make it more profitable for your company, be able to make more parts on a given basis to deliver more money, more profit. All of that gets tied in.
Lots of specifics. And this gets back to a question. You're at UC. How equipped are our new teachers coming out of the education programs to do these sorts of things?
These things are new to colleges of education, to education training. So we're still a little bit behind there. So it's our job, both at the university and in professional development, to retool our teachers to make sure that they're able to see the applications. I'm a classroom teacher. That's my experience. I taught science for 16 years. I haven't worked in business and industry. I don't always have those career connections. I don't always know how to make those application connections. And so I need help as a classroom teacher, and that's part of what we're doing in the collaborative, is to really provide teachers and students with these kind of skills, with these experiences that are not easily accessible.
Does that mean that teachers themselves have to be put directly in touch with the people out in the field in industry? Because they're not going to learn it from a book.
Absolutely. And that's exactly one of our...
If you've never been on the floor of a factory, if you've never done that,
you have no context. You can never make the connections for kids because you haven't experienced it yourself.
What's more difficult, to get the new young teacher coming out ready to do this, or you were saying retooling the person who's been out and teaching for 16, 15, 16, 20 years?
It depends on mindset. So if a person is open and they know that if we consider ourselves learners first, that's the person who's ready to learn, no matter if you're an older teacher like me or a brand new teacher who's 22. It really has to do with learner flexibility and considering yourself a lifelong learner.
Okay. It's a lot of stuff here, mm-hmm. and thank you for all the things that you're doing on this. And both of your organizations can be found through the web, and both of you can be found through the web, and I really, we will continue to follow this. And having this project, I hope that jumpstarts some things in the community with both schools and with industry.
Thank you.
We drive over it and alongside it every day, but rarely look. As the natural pass through the hills, this has been the preferred transportation corridor for roads, the canal, railroads, and the expressway for 225 years. And since the 1880s, the Mill Creek has been the preferred location for generations of manufacturing plants. After 2 centuries of abuse and misuse, the Mill Creek will require decades of systematic work to restore it as a positive natural feature. Welcome back. Efforts to restore the Mill Creek have been underway since the early 1990s. In 1993, a report initiated by the Hamilton County Environmental Action Committee called for the Mill Creek to be transformed from a civic embarrassment to a community asset. Progress has been made, mostly by grassroots organizations like the Mill Creek Watershed Council of Communities. I am joined this morning by Jennifer Eismeyer, the Executive Director of the Council. Jennifer, welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you, Dan.
And I've always lived close to the creek as an adult. In Northside, College Hill, Finningtown. I drive in every day. I've had a chance to Stan Hedin, who wrote what I still think is the best book on the Mill Creek.
The definitive book on the Mill Creek.
The definitive book on the Mill Creek. Stan's a professor, a retired professor at Xavier University, a great guy. And so I've always been in love with the story here. So what would you say right now is the condition of the Mill Creek and the Mill Creek Valley?
It's improving, but it has a long way to go. It's an asset. The Mill Creek is absolutely an asset to Greater Cincinnati. It's certainly the water resource that built Cincinnati, and it has the potential to be an asset that makes Cincinnati a competitive urban center to live and work well into the future. But we have a long way to go.
You know, when you're talking about an asset, and I was trying to hint at this, we think of the Ohio River. Everybody accepts the Ohio River drove the early economic development of the city. But in many ways, the Mill Creek has driven it all along. I mean, with transportation and industry. What's the future of the Mill Creek? Besides, it's still going to be a transportation corridor. It's still going to be a manufacturing corridor. But what is the future of the Mill Creek? What can you imagine it being?
I can see it being the kind of waterway that you see when you're driving, to and from work, or let's say you're actually bicycling to and from work along a greenway trail on the Mill Creek. On the weekends, you can hop on your bike, leave your house, and you can ride upstream and go to a streamside park. For businesses, it's the kind of water resource that offers abundant water, and that's very important.
And it's not only the water that you see in the creek, it's the water in the aquifer that's under that creek.
The Mill Creek Aquifer is part of a sole source aquifer in southwestern Ohio. It has very high water quality. It's an outstanding water resource. We're very fortunate. There are actually 3 communities in the Mill Creek watershed that take their drinking water supply from the Mill Creek Aquifer. I live in one of those communities.
In Wyoming?
That's right.
Okay. You know, people may think, oh, the Mill Creek itself is so polluted, so terrible that there's no nature there anymore. One of the photographs you sent me is of a turtle, which I thought we'd just take a look at this guy.
Sure. That's actually a mama.
Who is that turtle?
So that's a soft-shelled turtle. That's a very desirable species of turtle. That's a mama. She was, in fact, laying eggs that day. That is at Twin Creek Preserve, which is a stream restoration project in Sharonville. It's located, you can actually see it from 275. It's immediately adjacent to Champion Window. And we took that area, the Watershed Council worked with the city of Sharonville, the Metropolitan Sewer District, Butler County Water and Sewer, and we did stream restoration and wetland construction. And what we're seeing is outstanding habitat. So we have really a lot of desirable terrestrial organisms like the turtle and fish and bugs, lots of improvement.
You know, there have been a lot of individuals with your organization and related organizations who've been out there. There's another photograph of someone out there in their canoe literally cleaning up in a very basic way the Mill Creek, and we can bring that up. But that's something that needs to be done. There we go. Who is this?
This is John Hunter. He is on the Watershed Council board. He's a very fine man. He's the oldest Mill Creek Yacht Clubber. It's the Mill Creek Yacht Club.
Yes, the Mill Creek Yacht Club, which we also have their logo.
Yes.
What the heck is the Mill Creek Yacht Club?
So the Mill Creek Yacht Club is kind of the brainchild of a native son, Bruce Kaler, who works at OKI. He decided 20 years ago, everyone was talking about the Mill Creek, but no one was really exploring it and understanding it for real. And so he got out there in his canoe and started paddling. Since then, he has taken over 450 people out on the Mill Creek on over 80 float trips. John Hunter is the oldest Mill Creek Yacht Clubber.
And there's a there's a paddle coming up on August 3rd that we're going to tell people how to get to. Now, we can take people like that who are taking tires out and doing that kind of real big, but it's bigger than that, the cleanup of the Mill Creek. And one of the most exciting things is working with MSD, and this is something that I have focused on this show, like the Lick Run project, and we've got some video of what they're proposing, where they're going to daylight the stream, bring it out of the sewers, and for both environmental reasons and also for beautification of that community. This is the sort of thing that's really going to transform.
You're right. It's very exciting. It's huge work. The Mill Creek and its tributaries, I mean, the total stream length is quite large, and so Mill Creek is focusing on several large sub-watersheds, and Lick Run is one of the most exciting. It's also drawing national attention for their watershed approach to taking a piped waterway that has really been assaulted by urban development over time, and they're really transforming it.
And without that kind of fundamental structural change in what we're dumping, because right now the combined sewer overflows in that particular situation, it's combined sewer overflow number 5, which is the worst on the lower Mill Creek. Without that kind of huge governmental investment, you can pull all the tires out that you want, and it just isn't going to make the same impact, right?
It's true. One of the big benefits of the Mill Creek Yacht Club is that it brings people to the water who might not otherwise have an opportunity to see it. So there are kind of a couple different things that we try to do. The big projects like the MSD project, you know, as ODOT is working through the valley, there's opportunity for these very large structural changes that you're talking about, real changes in infrastructure that position Cincinnati well as we're making infrastructure improvements and then also taking care of our water resources.
Any of us who either drive Interstate 75 on a regular basis or perhaps now avoid Interstate 75 on a regular basis because of the ODOT and all the construction. Have they, in this new construction, have they been sensitive to the impact of what they're doing on the Mill Creek in any way different than it would have been, say, 40 years ago, 50 years ago?
I can't speak to ODOT's approach or any Department of Transportation's approach, you know, in the past, right? But I will say that ODOT they're limited in their right-of-way when they're along Mill Creek, but they are as sensitive as they can be within their right-of-way.
Okay. One of the things is to bring people back along the edge, as you were saying. Hike, bike trails, their pieces are being put in place. What do you see as important about that? Why is it important to get people hiking and biking along that stream?
Because water is sense of place. The Mill Creek makes Cincinnati a unique place to live. We have abundant water, and so that stream is part of what makes, you know, this valley, Cincinnati, what it is. And it's really everything. It's quality of life, it's history and culture, it's sense of place.
You know, and if people spend more time there, they'll care more, they'll understand more.
Right.
When I go out and bike along the Little Miami Trail, you know, to think about the transformation of that urban stream. Now, the Mill Creek's right in the middle of the urban corridor, so I'm not sure it's going to ever be exactly like that.
No.
I don't think that's what we're going for.
No.
But making it this magnet that people want to be by is very important with attracting people here, too.
It's true. It's true. I mean, we want employers to be able to attract young professionals, the best talent, and the Mill Creek is part of what makes Cincinnati a great place to live.
One of the things I have to show is that fish, because if people, I'm sure people have seen it out there and don't know about it. Very quickly, we're almost out of time. What about the happy fish?
Every time you see a happy fish, you have just crossed over the Mill Creek or a tributary, so look for that happy fish.
And don't dump things that you shouldn't be dumping, right?
Yes.
Okay. If you want more information about the work of the Mill Creek Watershed Council, go to their website, millcreekwatershed.org, or call the office at 513-563-8800. And there's the paddle on the Mill Creek August 3rd I was telling you about. You can get information there. Or Mill Creek Recreation Recreation on September the 28th. Great organization, lots of chances for volunteers. Perhaps you have heard the news, thank you very much, Jen, heard the news that the air times for Newsmakers will be changing in 2 weeks. This is going to be a big challenge, but I believe in this show, and after 15 and a half years with the fall elections coming up, I'm going to do everything in my power to make the new format work. Have a good week. See you next week.